I won't deny it, I'm a straight rider.
Peace, power, and love. This is the People's University Orientation Session 2. Last time we introduced the idea and the concept of the People's University, and we gave the names and credentials, basic credentials of the authors of the 6 essays in the baseline essays. This week we're going to examine the primary consultant, Asa G. Hilliard III. He was the primary consultant. He was responsible for the approach of the baseline essays, and he also selected the 6 essays that are used within the baseline essays to be used for this curriculum. I'm going to go ahead and read from his obituary. Obituary of the Honorable Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III. Dr. Asa Grant Hilliard III, Pan-Africanist, educator, historian, and psychologist, has passed from this life. A lifetime teacher of African and African diaspora history. Mr. Hilliard said, "I am a teacher, a psychologist, and a historian. As much as I am interested in the aims, as such, I am interested in the aims, the methods, and the content of the socialization process that we ought to have in place to create wholeness among our people." Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III, world-renowned Pan-Africanist, educator, historian, and psychologist, passed from this life on 13 August 2007 in Cairo, Egypt. Dr. Hilliard was in Egypt to deliver a keynote lecture at the annual conference of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization, an organization he helped to found. He was also lecturing for a study trip led by Reverend Jeremiah Wright of Chicago, who was the pastor who said all that stuff about America, who Obama disassociated himself from.
Yeah.
So he was in Egypt with Reverend Jeremiah Wright on a research trip.
And you said Obama disassociated himself with the pastor because of why?
He made some statements about America. One in particular, not God bless America, but God damn America. And so Dr. Hilliard was on the trip in Egypt with Reverend Jeremiah Wright when he passed. The cause of death is attributed to complications from malaria. Dr. Hilliard was in his favorite place with his favorite person, our mother, when he died, said his daughter, Robbie Hilliard Hara. Wow. Dr. Hilliard was married for nearly 50 years to the Honorable Patsy Jo Hilliard, former mayor of East Point, Georgia, and former school board member for the South San Francisco Unified School District. Born in Galveston, Texas on August 22, 1933, to Asa G. Hilliard II and Dr. Lois O. Williams. Dr. Hilliard graduated from Manual High School, 1951, in Denver, Colorado. He received a bachelor's from the University of Denver in 1955 and taught in the Denver public schools before joining the U.S. Army, where he served as First Lieutenant, Platoon Leader, and Battalion Executive Officer in the 3rd Armored Infantry. He later received his master's in counseling in 1961 and education doctorate in educational psychology in 1963 from the University of Denver. In pursuit of his education, Dr. Hilliard worked in many occupations, including as a teacher in the Denver public schools, as a railroad maintenance worker, and as a bartender, waiter, and cook. Some I want to point out about from 51 to 63, which is 12 years. Okay, this man got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, went and served as the First Lieutenant Platoon Leader, Battalion Executive in an infantry division, which means he was in the front lines with a rifle. After he had received a bachelor's and a master's, he did all of that. And then he came back and he got an educational doctorate. Remember, educational doctorate was one that, remember, the bachelor, you just complete the curriculum. The master's, you go at least 1 year past the curriculum. The doctorate, you are a professor, you can teach it. But the educational doctorate, you can actually build a curriculum. You're certified to build a curriculum. So this gives you this credibility in terms of the baseline essays. But just look at the amount of stuff that he's done. I know in my life, I got an A+ certification in hardware, which is about a 4-week, certification course. I got a CDL Class A, which is about an 8-week joint, right? I got a GED, and that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and I'm not much different. Actually, I probably have a few more credentials than the most people in my demographic. So that just goes to show you how less motivated we are as a people, man, and how little we do. This man went through a lot. So anyway, the obituary goes on to read, the professional career of Dr. Hilliard spans the globe. He was on the faculty at San Francisco State University. Remember, this is after that 12-year stretch that he did all of that. He was on the faculty at San Francisco State University, consultant to the Peace Corps in Liberia, West Africa, superintendent of schools in Monrovia, Liberia, and then he returned to San Francisco State as department chair and dean of education. So he went from California to Liberia, just taking all these posts. At the time of his death, Dr. Hilliard was the Fuller E. Calloway Professor of Urban Education at Georgia State University in Atlanta, where he held joint appointments in the Department of Educational Policy Studies and the Department of Educational Psychology and Special Education. Dr. Hilliard was a board-certified forensic examiner. Where he found time to do that? Wow. He's already been a dean of education here, Liberia. He's been a consultant to the Peace Corps in Liberia. That's huge. I mean, he's already done all. Now he's a forensic. He's bored. Now I'm a forensic examiner. Let me just get this. I mean, many of us spend our whole lives just doing one of those things. And he does these, you got to think about what he was born out of. And if we get to Dr. John Henrik Clarke's story, you'll kind of get an idea of what kind of era he was born out of. You had to be tough and you had to be strong.
Great-grandparents were slaves.
And stuff like getting diplomas and certifications, learning how, like Brother Shabaka said, I want to fly a plane, I just learned how to do it. It's not a big deal. That used to be us. Just get it right quick. But anyway, his obituary goes on to say, he served as lead expert witness in several landmark federal cases on test validity and bias, including Larry P. versus Wilson Riles in California, Matty T. versus Holiday in Mississippi, Deborah P. versus Turlington in Florida, and also 2 Supreme Court cases, Ayers versus Fortis in Mississippi, and Marino versus Ortiz in New York City. Dr. Hilliard has lectured at leading universities and other institutions throughout the world, including the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, the Smithsonian Institution, and the National Geographic Society. So he's lectured at all of these places. As a distinguished consultant, Dr. Hilliard has worked with many of the leading school districts, publishers, public advocacy organizations, universities, government agencies, and private corporations on valid assessment, African content and curriculum, teacher training, and public policy. Several of his programs in pluralistic curriculum assessment and valid teaching have become national models. Dr. Hilliard designed the approach and selected the essays that appeared in the Portland Baseline Essays, which represent the first time a comprehensive global and longitudinal